Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, a podcast on the FX television series Fargo. I'm Bill, and I'm here with my buddy Charpie, and we both grew up in Fargo. That doesn't make us experts. Charpie.
Hey now. It makes us experts on one form of Fargo, I would say.
The real Fargo.
I lived there for like 29 years.
Wow. I feel like you moved away younger, but yeah, you're right. I guess you know when you moved.
I moved
Better
away
than
from
me.
Fargo on my 30th golden birthday.
Good Lord, how symbolic of you.
And I said 29 years because I spent 1 year at college.
Oh, that's
And
right.
then I dropped out.
Failure.
I'm an art school dropout.
Feel like that's a great band name. Art School Dropout.
I think it is a band name.
Probably.
What isn't a band name? Happy.
Well,
Bill,
Happy.
Are you happy today? Are you happy with happy?
I'm having all sorts of problems. I feel very scattered.
Let's not talk about your bowels tonight.
Listen, no. I feel, listeners probably are like, well, Bill's always all over the map. The dip.
The
But-
dip.
Yeah, I'm a dipshit. I don't know. Can we touch on something that's just topical, not topical, but not like, what did you're a student of film in so many ways, and you and I have both worked in video production and editing. Lots of pushing in. Lots and lots and lots of that.
There has been since the beginning of this season, and I've got...
This episode was very, the doorway, going into the Smutny home, the one on Odis
Right.
before he died, yeah.
That's how this season began.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of movements, sort of just like they're like there are people, like the camera's a person traveling through the Smutny home,
Yeah.
which we end up seeing later in this episode, which I want to talk about in a little bit, but
Okay.
not quite
Let's
right now.
let's put a pin in that.
Pinned.
Here's one thing I will say as we go through this, things that I feel like I have not talked about. So, one, yes, the tornado came, right? And everybody
Tornado
seems
came.
like, well, we did the Oz thing. It's like, dude, Oz ain't over. We're still in it. I'm sorry, I'm sticking with Oz. It's not
Okay.
just going to disappear after Mike Milligan comes out the other side of the tornado, right? Satchel, well, we don't know. Let's play. Right, because you and I were talking about
You're
that
fiery
ID.
tonight. I like
I'm
it.
feisty. I've only had 2 sips of this bourbon, and I'm already feisty. But you had
has
a very.
somebody been coming at you with your Fargo opinions?
I don't know. I think the real trouble is that most of the time I don't read anything because I just want to call it out. I think a lot of reviewers are just recapping. I'm not talking about podcasts or I'm talking about like writing. I feel like reading some of the reviews that I've managed to catch, some of them is just like, you just basically recapped. You didn't tell me anything.
Yeah, this has been a pet peeve of mine for like the last 6 or 7 years. And I don't even know why I'm saying 6 or 7 years. I'm just saying like as far back as I can remember reading about television. That's probably about when it was. In the format of like recaps and reviews and stuff like that. And I feel like it is just all recaps. Recap. You want to get some people's thoughts on a show, but you rarely come across them. It's like, I'm not here to reread what I just watched.
I just watched the fucking show. You don't have to
get
tell
some
me that
interesting
after this. You don't have to tell me then after that, Odis showed up, walked through the station, and shot Swanee. I'm like, I was fucking there. I'm reading this, I mean, I guess maybe I should say that maybe there are some people that they missed an episode. They still have rabbit ears and get FX somehow through that, and they don't have a TiVo or any other means, so maybe they missed it. But damn it. I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm fired up, because there's not, and I don't do much Redditing. I just never have. And maybe, there's a lot of smart people out there saying a lot of smart things. And there's a lot of other great podcasters doing really thoughtful things. So I appreciate all those people who are out there.
There sure is. There just doesn't need to be so many recap stories.
Yeah, I feel
How
like...
can you... Why do you
like the New
write
York
a
Times
recap
sometimes
and then
doesn't
think-
even touch tightly enough on certain things. There's the zip, like at the bottom, they're like the 2-cent stamps and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't
Even
know.
worse,
I don't
we're recapping recap articles.
Oh my God, we're the
Oh,
problem.
no, we are
Okay,
the
fine.
problem.
Okay, so I just want to say we're still in Oz. There's still things
Sure.
happening that I think are very Oztastic.
I think you
there's
hit on something particular in the hot dish, and that was the prevalence of green. Lots and lots of luscious green in this episode.
Very much. We're in that world. But here's something I forgot to tell you in a show. I'm almost positive I never mentioned this. I feel like, for the most part, the Fada family itself is very Scarecrow-like, especially since the brothers have joined. But there is a really great scene when all the business is going down many episodes ago, when Gaetano was like doing the wrong thing, and Rabbi Milligan and Josto meet in that alley. And did you notice that Josto cannot light his lighter?
Yeah.
And I don't remember if I said anything about that. And I thought,
you did.
Yeah, because he'll start on fire, right?
Yeah.
And also he's too stupid to get his own lighter to work.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't light a match around straw.
And he's always got that golden tie on.
Yeah. So stay tuned. I'll talk about something else that's, I think, is prevalent in the Scarecrow thing. But I don't know. We're still in Oz. That's all I want to say. The KC Trib, the KC Way, KC has a lot of newspapers, Charpie. From 1951, there's January dates. It bumps ahead to April 4th, 1951, giving us a little bit of that time shift. So we've at least slipped, for sure, according to the headlines, 4+ months into the future, along with 1951.
Exactly what I came to as well. Did you see that guy who was just like burnt to a crisp in a truck?
Man, that was
rough, and that is real.
What?
I looked up that photo. That is an actual photo of a guy who was burnt to a crisp when his truck caught fire. They just flat out showed you not safe for work, real dead people.
Yeah, well, isn't that the unfortunate truth of crime in our era?
Yeah, which kind of kicks off this episode, which had more, I think, swearing than any other episode this season. I mean, they were just not giving a fuck this episode.
Yeah. I thought too that the kind of note I took was, here's our kind of murder porn opening. You know how we romanticize this, but when we think about it, we're like, this is just terrible criminal stuff, and we're like, ooh, and we want to see other people get killed. It's our own vengeance playing into this, but. Yeah, and then over that great song, Insane Asylum, which is Coco Taylor and somebody else I don't know. I'm bummed we haven't been able to be in touch with Maggie yet, but the music still, in my mind, has been killing it, along with Jeff's score.
Yep, as always.
So I have read 2 places because I looked it up. This was the episode that these episodes did not get shot, for the most part, until after the COVID shutdown. So there is something to be said for that. So, did you notice the headline, though, that says, "Stay inside, stay alive"?
No, I didn't see that one. I've combed through all those headlines, and
someone might say, they're just making a comment about the dangers of the violence on the streets of Kansas City. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like 29 dead people. Okay, sure. And then there's another headline about KC police enforcing a curfew to keep citizens safe. And I thought, you think about all the unrest this summer in cities. But anyway, so stay inside, stay alive.
Which came around full circle, I think, to the final song, where they're singing about the powers keeping on lying, people keeping on dying.
Yeah, that was Higher Ground. But that is I don't know who did Higher Ground originally. I know Stevie Wonder's done a version, but that was a version by the Blind Boys of Alabama. Which, also of note, because I'm a nerd for this, they also have a really great, pretty sure it's them, they have a version of Down in a Hole, which kicked off season 1 of The Wire, one of my all-time favorite shows.
If you walk through the garden, you better watch your back. Well, I beg your pardon.
And the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think they covered that song.
They did cover that. They covered that on their album Mother's Milk, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow. have that. I got that on tape somewhere. We see this scene at the King of Tears mortuary. Boy, those two ladies lock eyes. There's just tension and hate between them, and it's been obviously stewing for 4 months. And I saw a couple people complaining, well, is she waited this long to do that? And it's like, well, you don't just pop across the street and murder the kid. I feel like, if anything, Orietta has vengeance in her heart, but she's at least got a method to her madness.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. And then
what?
And then we get into the Fadas getting arrested by Odis.
I learned a lot on this second watch that I feel like I probably got too caught up in my own note taking, so I have corrections things I missed or misspoke of.
Okay, I have a ton of notes this episode. I don't know why. This one in particular, though, I feel like I wrote a friggin' 1,000-word article on it already.
If you saw how many notes I took, it's ridiculous.
Let's talk about Odis for a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like this is a full-blown, that look, after he did it, he had a change of heart. I think, doesn't make him all better, but he's decided to, quote-unquote, go to the light. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think in the end he feels he did the right thing, and I think that's the Raddoppiarlo of happy. I think the obvious name for the episode, Happy, is because of the character, Happy.
Yes.
But we also see Odis die happy.
Yes.
So
or at least feeling as happiest as he's been, being sort of rejoined with his fiancée and doing what he thinks was right. I mean, he's like, you know what? Forget this. I'm not going to let these two criminals, because we remember, right? Do you feel the same way because he had that whole talk with? It's almost like Deafy did change him. Because he talked about he liked having the control, and it just felt right, and he had slowly through corruption let that slip away. And I think he thought, because of his tics and obvious problems. Yeah.
Yeah, so we see on Odis's face after the Fadas get arrested and they get raided at the Fada compound. Odis is there. We see them getting hauled away. We see Josto kind of give him a smirk as he's taken out the door by the police. Josto
blows him a kiss, actually.
Yeah, Josto and the whole crew, they know they're getting out of this. It's no big deal. It's just an inconvenience, really. But when the camera pans over to Odis's face, he does have this real look of satisfaction. And then we cut straight to the Gadfly Hotel. And I think Odis is the real centerpiece of this opening act, I guess you might say.
I think you're right. Here's the interesting part. We know there's the staircase that comes up the middle from the front side of the street, right? But all the treacherous action always comes through the back door of Joplin's. And all the police came running in the back door. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
But yeah, then we end up at the Gadfly, which I sent you that link. Had you already kind of found something like that or no?
Yeah, so you sent me a link on sort of what a Gadfly is, right?
Yeah, or just the Gadfly as it applies to philosophy and social science. There's a Wikipedia page out there about it being someone who generally and persistently challenges people in positions of power or the status quo. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've got quite a few characters doing that this season.
Sure.
This one is Odis, you think, right?
Yeah, well, I went into a book, actually, called The Gadfly, which is by an Irish author, Ethel Voynich. It was published in 1897. So listen to this. It's sort of late 1800s Italy, in a tumultuous Italy. I think they're under some Austrian influence. There's a lot of unrest, and the story is about a young man named Arthur who is having lost his beloved comrades and learning about the deceit of the closest person. He disappears for 13 years, comes back, blah, blah, blah. Let me talk about this story a little bit. Sure. Arthur is this young man living in Italy. There's a lot of unrest. There's a lot of Austrian influence going on. Italy's not happy. The people are oppressed. This young man becomes Arthur decides to become a little bit of a revolutionary, and he joins a young group of basically rebels called Young Italy. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In Young Italy, he has a partner, his childhood friend, Gemma. It's a woman, but he refers to Gemma as Jim. Okay? Remember that a little bit.
Okay.
Throughout the story, there's this priest that is friends
like
of
Jim,
Arthur.
as in like Jim, like Jim, Jim.
Jim,
like,
Jim. Yep.
Okay. I'm with you.
But it's Gemma is her name.
Sure.
But he calls her Jim. So Arthur has. So they're like having to be super secretive in this group of young Italians, and they're fighting for Italy. And he also has a couple members of the group he's a little bit jealous of, and he confesses this jealousy to his priest, who in reality is his real father, but he doesn't know that. Okay.
Dun dun dun.
So he's confessing.
Wait, are you sure this isn't this sounds like an opera?
This is this
right?
is great,
Doesn't it?
It does. So he's a little bit jealous of his of one of his partners, Giovanni Bolo. He confesses that.
I'm sorry. Did you just say Joe Bulo?
Interesting.
I don't think that's real. It's just fun. I'm sorry. Keep going.
He ends up getting found out and arrested. Okay, Arthur gets found out by the people who are oppressing Italy, and he gets arrested. Ultimately, he gets released, but the people in his little secretive rebel group, Young Italy, are a little bit pissed at him because Giovanni Bolo, the guy that he was, a little bit jealous of, also got arrested. And so the group is like, hey, man, you may have gotten out, but that really wasn't cool, and we're not down with you. Okay?
Ooh.
So
he's not really part of the club.
Right. So compare that with Odis and how he betrayed the Italians a little bit, got into some trouble, comes back to the office precinct, gets confronted by that officer. He's like, hey, man, you better, not bite the hand that feeds you. This isn't cool. Okay?
Yeah, there's a little warning of like you watching your back.
Exactly. Watch your back.
And then he also gets the phone call with a bullet with his name on it. So it's pretty straightforward there.
So that's interesting. Later in that book, Giovanni Bolo's widow, so he ends up dying somewhere along the line. Giovanni Bolo's widow describes Arthur. She actually describes this character, Gadfly. Arthur has an alter ego, Raddoppiarlo, that everybody calls the Gadfly, who also has a pen name of Felice Raveris.
Whoa.
So Arthur, once he got into trouble, he kind of split. He swam to Buenos Aires. He hung out for 13 years, and he wrote under this pen name and just created a lot of more of this political unrest under this pen name.
Right.
And then later came back and was mixing with the same crew and nobody like recognized him because he had this scar on his head.
Oof, this is like Days of Our Lives.
Which is crazy. So people are like, wait, this guy, the way he talks sounds a lot like our old friend Arthur, who disappeared. And Giovanni Bolo's widow describes this guy, the Gadfly, Felice, as having a stutter and a nervous, cramped twitch in his face. A stutter. Odis
He's giving himself away.
A little bit of a stutter. So there's some comparisons there, which I thought were pretty interesting. So there's some Raddoppiarlo going on. There's some a stuttering character who goes against some of his crewmates, and then this is where I think it kind of like ties itself up. Odis is getting a ride to his home. Remember from those other detectives?
Yeah, because he's trying to be safe.
Thanks for the lift. Yep, he's like, thanks for the lift, Jimbo. Jim is giving him a ride. Jim, his friend Gemma in the book, is really not cool with Arthur, a.k.a. the Gadfly.
Right.
With how he treated and kind of decepted their comrades. Jim drops him off, leads him to his own demise. And to top it off, Jim,
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
who gave Otis the ride in real life, that guy's name is Otis.
Just when you think we can't make it more crazy. God, and I
Can
was
you
just thinking it
imagine
was.
they're casting this show, and they're like, okay, so the real guy's name's got to be Otis. The character, because
Yeah.
the character's name is Otis, and they're doing all this Raddoppiarlo, like multi-levels
Right.
deep. So
Hey, you never know how deep somebody's gonna go.
I think that Otis is the gadfly. Is the
Yeah.
moral of the story. I hope I didn't butcher the synopsis of that story because the
That's
summaries
okay.
of it are pretty not great.
Well, I'll take it because I still think the story you're telling is true. Because if you go to like the Wikipedia page for the gadfly and philosophy and social science, there's a comment here that the role of the gadfly was to sting people and whip them into a fury, all in the service of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there's some new shit has come to light, man. And it's because Otis is choosing. And, I was going to mention that I thought Otis was coming to the light because he had all the car lights on his face and everything about, we're skipped way ahead here, obviously, but everything about Gaetano was like in shadow and darkness. And
And Arthur, the gadfly, in the book, the gadfly ends up dying by a firing squad.
Yeah. Well, I thought they were, honestly, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think it's all awesome. I just thought Loy is very clearly causing a lot of problems, though,
Yeah.
too. He's, because a gadfly is like, they talk about it, it's a biting horses and stuff. And, there's a lot of talk about the stockyards. And I just thought, here's Loy. He's pissing off New York. He's pissing off the country folk, right? Because there's the whole conversation about Loy, or with Loy and Buel. But like,
Did you notice that
Okay.
there's a French and an American flag outside the gadfly?
I thought that was right, but you're wrong. They're stacked the wrong way. That is the flag of Missouri, which by the
is
way,
it?
is the exact same. It's the
Because the
exact
blue's
same
on
as-
top in France.
No,
Is that right?
in France,
Or are they
the
vertical?
stripes are vertical.
Oh,
in
shit.
Missouri, they're
What do I
horizontal,
know?
but they're the same colors. They're the same colors. Also, just kind of a fun twist though on our whole Paris of the Plains business.
Yeah, that is kind of a fun twist.
But yeah, I thought the same thing. It's just because the flag is folded and it's covering up like there's an emblem in the middle. Trust me, you're on the same path as me. Same path as me, man. So let's talk real quick here about in this gadfly hotel because this comes back to my thought. Man, I really like that gadfly thing. Ugh, it's gonna be hard for me. I might need to like rewatch bits of that again. Loy talking to Buel, and it's super cool to see her be strong and involved in everything, and talking about he's going to try take over, country boy over the big city. This, to me, is another Wizard of Ozism, a wizardism, because the Tin Man, the Tin Woodsman, and the Scarecrow, if you go look this up, is this American kind of battle between industry and farming. And
right.
And so this, as we know personally, I've already said that the Fadas are kind of scarecrowy because they, and
Yep.
And this connects them because what we learn later is that Happy sides with the Fadas, which makes him he's from the farm, and B, he's siding with them. So they're all kind of Team Scarecrow in my opinion. So think of it that way. This big country, because she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, he's going to come here, country boy, to come take over the big city. And I thought, okay. So that sort of in my mind makes the cannons maybe the Tin Man. I don't know. We've mentioned it, and not everybody has to be perfect, but I'm just playing with this. But so we see Lionel. I still couldn't figure out the whole. There was a really cool throwback, in my opinion, to those two photos that were black and white that you and I were talking about, the Oz scene in the dining room, where one photo was predominantly had darker shades in it and one had lighter. Did you notice those two photos both had kind of light and dark heaviness each to their leaned one way or the other?
Yep.
I just thought that was another duality. I won't say the word.
Okay.
So
yeah, you're right. One has a dark background, one has a light background. They have, and then their wardrobe is the opposite, just like the people that work in the home.
Yes. So it's a very, in my opinion, it's a real nice touch and a throwback to that. But it's, this is where we hear Loy talk about you're always losing till you win. That's why there's an underdog, and Happy, he takes stock in his forefathers, but that's just another thing. He's looking to the past, whereas the Tin Man in the city is the future. But it's very clear in the second watch to me that he is not really there for Loy. Aside from the stuff, just the whole, like, your head is getting too high, the fathers, grandfathers, sharecroppers, all born into bondage, etc. And that's interesting to me that Loy talks about being born on the bottom and dying on the bottom. But I also didn't catch it until my rewatch about this is the kind of, like, plays into today's world, in my opinion. When he sees the picture of Loy, he says, that's your pick in the paper. That's not just you. We're all there. And I wondered, wow, is that like one criminal admonishing another criminal for helping make them look bad? And is this a statement about all the people doing bad things don't, unfortunately for Black Americans, that's the trouble, is that there's, when their picture's in the paper for something bad, it has these more terrible connotations, and they've shown that kind of bias in newspapers. But I think that was just a little bit of that, stuff that's happening with Noah Hawley in this universe. I don't know exactly if it's this massive part of the story, but I mean, in the end, I think the best scene that happens here is Buel, when she just rips Happy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So solid. Everything about that scene with her is just like stellar. And it gets them.
She's a lion.
2 weeks, right? Yeah, because she talks about protecting her young.
Mm-hmm.
And these heroes that are really just like not in the forefront. And we can talk about that soon when we talk about. Because did we skip over the? No, we didn't. We got to get to Snowman eventually here.
Were you looking at the two urns in the background? I don't know if there's much to it.
I don't know if they were urns. I did notice it. It was just another wonderful instance of symmetry in this show.
Sure.
I feel like it's very much like watching the amount of symmetry that you see in a Kubrick film. There's just so much of it. It's just hard not to notice it. Yeah, I saw that there was two of those, and then on each side of that there was two pictures. But then I thought, what, if I was having a place, I'd probably balance it like that too. I'm not overly asymmetrical sometimes in my life.
No, but they did seem very urn-like. And then when we take the conversation to Leon and Happy with the Fadas, there are two boxes in that scene.
Yes,
and I don't know if they're like holding ashes or anything like that, but there's definitely two boxes. One's on Josto's desk, and one's between Leon and Happy, and it's got a little bear in front of it. I think they both have little bears in front of it.
There's so much. There's just so much going on, and it's just, this stuff is so beautifully shot. I will say what you want about the story being too muddled or convoluted or not enough going on, and I'm still going to stick to my thing of like, this is more, and this is more to what it's really like. These problematic types of things that these characters are kind of representing, that's the real way it is. You don't get to know everything all the time, and not everything's perfectly satisfying for you, the viewer, But I get it. People want to enjoy their show, and they want to see something resolve. So, I don't know. I don't think do we really need the police station phone call? I think we've kind of covered what happens there. Odis has turned over a new leaf. He's keeping the streets safe. He has a call with Josto. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to, so let's kind of fast forward up to Joplin's, and I do feel a little bit here that Ebel and Joe are having like some interesting conversation that we don't know yet. And I had an email from somebody who, I'm so sorry.
I think so many Ebel and Joe Bulo are just planning the future.
You think there's nothing? Because somebody was trying to say. Somebody sent me an email. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who it was. I didn't write it down, but they were saying, what if what if one of those guys is the inside person? But we heard a name. I'm not sure about that because the name we heard later is Charlie was sitting on Joplin's, basically. So we know that's how they knew about Leon and Happy.
Yep.
Going there, but interestingly enough, Gaetano has got this whole "you're making this too personal, brother." Like, when did I think he's just trying to mimic him. I don't think he's actually smart. I think I'm sticking with he's still. I always want to say a bull in a china shop, but ever since the special, I just want to be like, "There's a horse in the hospital." Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
I'll just let people go look that up. I'm really sorry. It's a Trump commentary from John Mulaney. There's a horse in the hospital. You don't know what he's gonna do next. Because it's so weird. Anyway, I don't want to go down that path. Okay, so police station, Joplin's, they got to clean it up. We eventually get to this scene. Right? How green is this setting of Satchel?
Yeah, I mean, green everywhere. So you mentioned it in the hot dish and how we've stepped into Oz now and everything's like ultra green, which is a theme we haven't really seen yet, I don't think, this season, or else we're just forcing it. But right away in the beginning, the trees are like super lush and green behind Orietta. And granted, It is springtime, so there's April.
It's April or May, maybe. Ooh, if it's May, that's the 5th month.
Ethelrida is wearing a skirt that was green, with some green plaid in that scene. Buell's shirt in the Gadfly Hotel was green. Actually, I think her whole wardrobe was green. The Gadfly curtains were green. Ethelrida's sweater is green later on in the show. When she's talking to Debrell, who's got a beautiful green skirt on. The detectives in Orietta's house. One's got a big green trench coat. One's got a green hat. Lots and lots and lots of green, Aussie green going on, and especially in this scene when we have that big drone shot that goes straight up from Satchel and reveals the two sides of that field, which was pretty great. What's planted in that field, Bill?
I don't know. What do you think?
Soybeans.
Oh, not canola? Just kidding.
Or canola. I actually have no idea. It's just you can pretty much always
highly
get it right with soybeans.
Highly satisfied scene, though, with Satchel. It felt, as everybody seems to be expecting, he's going to turn into Mike Milligan. I brought up to you the fandom page that shows a prop ID from Mike Milligan, and guess what year he was born? Some people are like, well, it can't be Mike Milligan. This one was born in 1951, and you and I briefly talked off air about this. Well, they showed up at that weird black and white, the Crazy Sisters house, and they chose the New Testament side because that's the side where a rabbi says, which side can I be reborn on? So the tornado comes in 1951, and I think that's when Mike Milligan is truly born. Don't you?
Well, you did mention that, but I also found an ID of Mike Milligan's, and it says he was born in May, so it is May of 1949. So what is true?
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was... So I've seen two things about that. Either the bottom line, though, is still, oh my God, 5'2",
5'2".
5'2", at 555 Blue Lane Road. And his name is Mike Milligan. He's missing the Mike Millin.
Mike Millin.
Either way,
maybe that's just a cosplay ID.
Well, and what's funny is that it's misspelled, but he writes it correctly in his signature. In that photo, you
that is not the correct photo. What does your photo say? You say you have a photo of his ID that says he was born in 1951.
That's the one. I saw it in two places. I checked one of those, the fandom Fargo wiki.
I would love to know, because if the image I found of his ID is incorrect, which it could be, or is it weird that they put out two IDs of Mike Milligan?
Well, this is the part where I wished I could reach back out because you remember I talked to the prop master like a season ago. I can't remember which season it was. I actually had that whole phone call with the prop master from the show, and it was so fun. But he talked to me for quite a while. But yeah, according to May 2nd, 1949 is what's listed him being born, but we know he wasn't born in 1949. I don't know, man. We'll figure it all out. And you know what?
I'm sticking to, our theory that Satchel's reborn because I like it. They stayed at the Barton Manor, whatever. Mm-hmm. They chose the side where you get reborn. The tornado comes. Satchel is essentially reborn. I mean, I don't think that's deniable. He's on his own. He's coming into himself.
He's a new person. And speaking of it, just that, our Raddoppiarlo twins thing, got a great tweet from Jamie that says, "Hey guys, all this talk about pairs makes me wonder if we're going to meet the Kitchen Brothers." This other set of twins. But
I bet we do. I don't
know.
I bet you don't think he runs into a pair of twin other kids?
Oh my God! If he runs, oh my God, that would be amazing. But I mean, we do know that he works for Joe Buel, so there's got to be some connection at some point to Joe. I hope there's at least something we see.
Right.
But okay, so that scene with Satchel is highly, much like the Buel scene, is highly satisfying. Like high point scenes are Buel, Satchel, and Ethelrida at the very end. Those to me are just like the pinnacle, like listen up scenes,
Yeah.
And I like them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But so we see Ethelrida doing her deep research in the library, kind of a fun overlay of her doing that. That was neat. But
did you read far too many obituaries like I did?
I decided after I did that whole crimes in the Midwest, I decided I was done. I was not going to do it this week. Why?
Well, I did.
Fun? Give me something fun.
So I went. I really miss microfiche. Do they still have those in some libraries? They must, right?
that would require me to go to a library.
We can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the people that died.
Who dead?
Let's pay our respects. Who dead? God, we haven't played Who Dead this season.
Who dead? Nope, we haven't. Who dead next?
Harold Barnes is dead. He died in the middle of a cornfield. His body was frozen.
Shocker.
Harold was a piano teacher. It turned out, after a little digging, he was wanted for fraud in 2 states. Howard Bell. So this is kind of fun. Howard Bell was a math teacher. He lived alone. He died August 9th. Guess what? Somebody else died on August 9th. Guess who? Another man named Howard. 2 Howards died on August 9th.
You think they're just getting lazy with the copy and paste?
They could have been. That's what I was thinking after a while. I'm like, I think the graphic designer was just using the same names. John Brown died on August 7th at 10 p.m., where Clarence Fernard died on August 10th at 7 p.m. Both of them died after crashing their vehicles after getting drugs from a local hospital. So they passed out, died. All of these people died suspiciously. 2 people died by running their car into something because of some form of drug that they were given.
Right.
2 people died after going into the hospital having had the flu and then just randomly dying in the hospital. And then 2 people died named Howard.
Doesn't that speak pretty closely though to like escalating serial killers, how they do, like at first she was just drugging them in their pills that were leaving the hospital, and it eventually escalates to her like watching people, drugging them and watching them die.
Yeah, more being directly involved, like pillows over
very
their head and shit.
It's just yeah.
2 people died on August 9th, 2 people died on August 10th. 7th, 9th, and 10th.
Howard Bell looks pretty young. I just opened this up to see.
Yeah, Harold Barnes is wearing a shirt that looks very similar to the shirt that Orietta is wearing when she's arrested.
Well, here, wait. You got to realize, she's just looking at the obits in the paper, Charpie. So not all these people are dead because of her. That's why the dates are so. You're never going to see an obituary date where people are like way out.
Sure, yeah, they're all going to be close for sure.
Yeah.
But they all died kind of oddly. Because they were all young. Like the people that died of the flu were like super young. These people.
Well, there's another. Yeah. Well, carry the commentary on, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to say it. Can we talk about the mama scene? As I've decided to call it, Mama, are we really cursed?
Okay.
This also got me a little riled up in a couple things I read where they're like, ooh, Snowman / the Roach, that she calls him at one point, is looking out for her. And I was like, you know what? Anyone who has a secret ghost that looks out for them doesn't call that a fucking curse. I don't care if I'm right or wrong about it being racism. It's a horrible person and a horrible ghost. Don't call it like her savior.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit guilty of that in the hot dish. I was speaking off the cuff, and I kind of tried to back out of it a little bit, even during the hot dish, because I was like, yeah, that theory is getting weak pretty quickly. But I was thinking like, oh, maybe he protected her because he prevented.
It's me, the slave trading captain. I'm here to keep you safe.
Trying to right my wrongs.
Yeah.
But I was like, I mean, I think it's natural to think that because if it weren't for him, Orietta would have poisoned her. But when I rewatched it, it's very obvious that he's getting like extreme enjoyment out of what Orietta's about to do. He's like grimacing, like he's like in like this evil way. He's like, yes, do it.
Did you headphone it?
Yeah.
Ugh, man, the sound's really, really great. All I thought, though, is if somebody was clinking around with a zippery pouch in my room, I'd probably be like, what the fuck are you doing? I'd wake up.
You know what I loved about... I guess we're not in the mama scene anymore.
No, well, can I correct myself because I misheard it and I missaid it. I misspoke it. I did not realize that their great granddaddy, as they said, grabbed him and choked him to death.
Yeah.
I thought it was that he killed the father and that the mother saw it, but what we found out is that the first time her grandmother saw her, she was 6 years old. And I just want to say this. You want to talk about more duality in the show? Zelmare referred to it and said, that mean old Mr. Snowman.
Mm-hmm.
Debrel calls him the Roach. So even that person, that haunting spirit, has two different names from two other people.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, sorry, you were saying about... And just that she wanted to cast him away and get rid of him. So it's like if these people who are like, and not just you, that are like, oh, he's helping. I'm like, why if it was ever a help, why would she be saying, can I cast him away and get free? I'm like, he's not a protector. He's a fucking curse. She literally says, are we cursed?
Yeah.
And he likes sunshine. And to me, sunshine is goodness and progress. And he's always there. Right? He wants to be there because he brings the darkness. He doesn't. If you're already down, he ain't gonna show up.
I see. That's interesting.
I don't know, but what? So I'm contemplating. Okay. Notice that she never turned to him. So much like Odis, it was behind him, and much like so. I don't know, man. I'm really contemplating Snowman Roach, trying to figure this out. I still stand by what I think it is, but, like, Aunt tried to take him. That's not what he likes. He likes sunshine. I'm sitting there wondering, what is going on with this lingering curse, and how would she Aunt tried to take him. I want to know what that means. I'm bummed that I don't know more. And
yeah.
Do you think we're going to see Zelmare again?
Yes.
I hope so. But she's like, I ain't seen him. She's squeezed away in some little place or hidden away.
Zelmare's going to come back and defeat the Roach, Snowman. It is so weird that he's got these two names now. He is Snowman in the credits.
He stays Snowman in the credits, but she literally says the Roach.
Yep.
But here's the other thing. cockroach, you know what everybody jokingly talks about? They never die. They're always there.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucking hard to get rid of.
Yeah, that must be why they call him that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. What was his name? What was his first name? Theodore Roach.
Theodore Roach.
He laughed at their fear, and in their hour of being scared and shackled. Oh, by the way, here's my new thematic thing. This is the first introduction, in my opinion, in this episode about the storm and the sea. Yes. Ocean. Blueness. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so
lots we'll come back to that.
Oh, you want to come back to that?
Or do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Because everything from here happens after this, as we, like, if we went in a linear fashion through this episode. But it's, you even caught it, you said.
Just like all the sea and ocean references, is that where you're getting on? Yes.
Yeah, that after this was introduced, you know, so I feel like we're can we just wrap up the whole conversation between Lemuel and because I'm still sticking to, I do think she's a witch, that Orietta's a witch. Because she said, don't let her get me, and then at that one point she like lunges for her, and there's a scene in the actual Wizard of Oz where, because she wants her / the ring, where the witch lunges for Dorothy and wants the shoes, but she gets shocked and was like, oh. And I just thought that was very Wizard of Ozzy to me, that she's like, I'll get you, my pretty, you know, and she's like, don't let her get me. And that was the line. She says, don't let her get me. And everybody knows that line, I'll get you, my pretties. So I still think that she's a witch, and she wants that thing, but that's the toughest part about that is Orietta's just the awful racism in her.
Oh, my God.
What's it like to be so sure you're right and know that nobody cares? Awful. And it's real.
Awful.
Did you catch the when she says, who will believe you? And she's like that counts. But the other great thing was when she says, there's a word for people like you. And that's where I loved Ethelrida's line of like, that's your word. You invented that to make yourself feel bigger. That's not what I am. And that's why I was saying, I'm really glad we're back to Ethelrida. I'm really glad to see a strong scenes out of Buel and Debrel, even just talking to her daughter, and all of that, because everybody else in this episode is flailing or dying. Right?
Yeah. Orietta's words there were pretty brutal. She even said something like, betraying your better.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So bad. And then she ends it with, I'll see you in your dreams, which was a literal statement. She really meant she was going to come back while she was sleeping.
I missed that the first time, and I wrote, whoa, that was a giant, like, foreshadowing happening.
Yeah, and when she does come back to see her in her dreams, we see those camera movements going through the doors and stuff like that. That's Orietta, right? Because that's Orietta traveling up to Ethelrida's room to see her in her dreams.
Well, so I couldn't decide. It could be either or. Like, how do we know that that wasn't Snowman traveling up to get up behind the scene?
Okay.
Or was it her? But here's the deal. I know it's dark in the house, right? But super blue. Everything is blue. And the camera is like washing and swishing side to side as it goes up that. Very, like, I'm on a boat, and not the Andy Samberg kind.
No.
It was, I don't know, it was a thing.
Yeah, it could have been the Snowman's movements. For sure.
I'm just either way, the point is still, it's just that eerie blueness, like her sheets. And did you notice she was wearing, we've skipped ahead and we'll come back to some other stuff, but did you know she's like wearing like a blue cloak as well? Or what appears to be like a navy. I personally think that Snowman, like you were, was like up in her ear, like, oh yeah, talk dirty to me. Here, take her life. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like the devil on her shoulder, just kind of like, yes.
I just think I just think the
Give her
presence
the old
of
prick.
I don't know exactly the intention behind her being freaked out, but I just think that's like, even for her, it's overpowering the presence of that much evil or awfulness or gross, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Because if you play it back, he's like going, like in her. I mean, yeah, you're right. He's like Joe Biden breathing in her ear. Oh, God, sorry, Joe. Oh, sorry, Joe. Sorry.
Sorry,
I
sorry.
am no way. I can make a Biden joke too. It's okay.
That's right.
But yeah, it's just, oof, all that washing around in blue and there's a lot of references to the water and the tides and babies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so as long as we're talking
babies
about this,
come with the tide.
Babies come with the tide.
Yep.
And they're all born in the night, and the I'm pretty sure the storm happened in the night and all of that. And when we go to Odis's apartment later, everything's blue. All the lights are tilted and the cameras are tilted as if you're like pitching, on a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And in the painting that we get to see is what? A ship in the water.
Yep.
There's just, and then when he runs in the hallway, he's like doing that bouncing off the walls thing as if he's on, freaking Hunt for Red October when they're doing a Crazy Ivan.
It is like that.
Miss you, Sean Connery. And I don't know if that's even where that. I mean, there's so many places where ever since that, and just even Orietta's like she smells it first.
Mm-hmm. Just like Dubrel.
But man, I don't know. He really does have a missing nose. When they cut to that scene where you see him in profile coming up behind Orietta, you can really tell he's missing that nose.
Yeah, so what's the deal with the wooden nose then? It just fell off over time? Does a ghost's wooden nose fall off?
Honestly, I don't have a clue. I got nothing on that. I want to know. And his eyes being sewn shut, and now all we see are these black holes, but also Otis's girlfriend's eyes, they weren't like burnt out with cigarettes. They were like perfectly cut out.
Really?
Yeah, go look at it. I had to pause. Like twice and like noodle around just a bit to get it to this right spot so I could be like, oh shit, that poor fucker. I mean, they broke all the Hummel statues after he so nicely unpacked them in an earlier episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at first I was like, what is he doing? Packing them again? I realized, he was unpacking them, putting them all back because he decided to stay and be a good cop.
Yeah.
So Orietta freaks out, flees all the way home, and just shows up, and they've clearly made tea or coffee at her house.
Yeah.
The one guy's. We'll come back to a couple of the other things here. We still got to talk about the brothers in the car having their tender moments over dick size, and
we still have a lot left.
We do. But let's wrap up. Let's wrap up Orietta.
Okay.
What did you tell me? Tell me what you thought when you saw that scene when they just showed up at her. She goes in, slams the door, and there's a bingo bango. The cops are set up shop in her place. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm guessing that's the end of Orietta. We have one episode left. I was a little. If it's not great, if it is, I'm a little disappointed in how that just like, well, we're just gonna shove this in a bag, and that's the end of that. Orietta's arrested. See you later. Yeah, the guy you tried to kill, he's not dead, and he told us you killed him. You tried to kill him, so...
One of my favorite lines, though, was, call the police! Ma'am, we are the police.
You're just making it worse.
I'll admit I have a lens on this season now based on like the whole unfortunate summer and that we've had, and I thought, pretty typical. White person kills all sorts of people, gets taken peacefully in their own home without a shot being fired. Just saying. That'll get us another really great review on Apple Podcast.
Yeah, she just wanted.
But you know what I mean? Like, But I mean, I also say this ties into our little bit of like, we have our own like vengeful lust for this stuff, even in fiction and film, that we want to see. There's something like, don't be a bully, but man, I would love to see that guy kicked in the balls. I don't think we're done with her.
Okay.
You know what? I'll make a bet that we're not done with her.
Okay, let's bet.
Let's pin that for a minute. I'll tell you why later.
We got a lot of stuff pinned.
Oh, so many pins. This show's a goddamn voodoo doll. Okay. Either way, she gets locked up. The whole, let me just get my purse. Like, let me just put away my poison syringe set here.
Let me just lock the door to my poison closet and people trophies.
Yeah. No, let's talk about the brothers in the car.
Okay.
You you don't have any siblings, but do you ever wish you had a brother to sit around and talk about killing people when you were 11 and your dick and stuff like that? Do you have those moments? Do you feel like your childhood is missing out?
Yeah. Big like pickle.
Big.
I am an only child, and
Yeah.
as I was growing up, no, I did not wish for siblings. Now that I'm older, yeah, sure, definitely. I think having siblings would be incredibly helpful and useful. But they could also be like a horse in a hospital.
Right.
So there's that.
There's a horse in the hospital. I'm going to slowly work up to an actual John Mulaney. There's a horse in the hospital. I don't know how to do the John Mulaney. John Mulaney is almost like as if a man's body was inhabited by one of the Hepburn women.
I dig it.
Hands down, one of the weirdest things I've said on this show. Hepburn, oh my God. I don't know. It was, even the music was underscored, like tender moment where they're like laying on each other's shoulders. But I mean, in a way, are we seeing, and I'm just thinking of this right now, are we seeing the reflection of how fucked up both of their lives were, separated worlds apart? One got sent away, one was here, one was there, and they both, because of their choices and their family's choices, were unfortunately living in just like terrible trauma. I mean, Josto got traded away and possibly touched by the devil Oni, and here's this guy who's trying to get his rocks off at 11 and ends up getting choked and killing somebody.
Did he kill him?
I don't know. Or did he kill him? Well, either way, he stabbed him with some glass.
In the eye.
Oh, I'm sorry, in the eye, because that's right. This show and the Coens love a Cyclops.
So that guy got stabbed in the eye. He had an eye patch, and then we saw the guy with the eye patch at Barton. Raddoppiarlo.
Yeah, and don't forget that there's the one guy with the Omi had a cloudy eye. Something's up with that.
Oh yeah.
Lots of one-eyed men. But these two have this whole scene where they're just like, boy, they sure are together and all's right with the world, right? And so they kill Wef, right? He drops the gun. The thing I didn't hear was, how he would be like, he had those like outward breaths Odis did.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until the second watch that even with that smile on his face, the last thing you hear if you turn the volume up as Gaetano is walking away is one last
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Some people said they didn't like this character, and I still think, I don't know, it's good, and I really liked him in Boardwalk Empire as Richard was his name, I think, I don't remember. But yeah, that smile on his face, though, I still think Deafy goes out with disapproval. He goes out with, I was trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
The closest we have to a redeemed lawman in this show, possibly?
Maybe. The juxtaposition of the just gruesome violence in this scene, along with just the lovability of everything, like the little smile on his face as he died, and then like Josto and Gaetano sitting in their car like they're at they're 12-year-olds at a sleepover talking about girls and stuff.
Dude, Gaetano's got a face that could really survive. People have mentioned it, and I agree. The silent film era. he's got a very emotive face. I mean, there's that time where he's literally got his head tilted like a little puppy and he's like looking at his brother like they're realizing how much they actually care about each other.
Mm-hmm. And the short little sentences he uses, I think, really make his character. When he's just like, when Jossel's like, yeah, like, get to the point, and he's like, okay. And then he, like, continues with his story. Just saying that little, like, okay, is so nice.
Yeah.
I love that character.
What did you think of the way Gaetano goes out?
I liked it because it was a huge surprise for starters, and you were just
I agree.
It made you just go like, what the fuck? It was somewhat comical, like the character was. I mean, he was just over the top in every way, so it was fitting. Also, very like Cohen-esque.
Yeah.
Just because of the quirkiness.
People were trying to find like correlations, and there's a few things that were said that are close, and I think they're all fine. But I think you're right. It's the absurdity.
Yeah.
Right. Here's my connection.
Okay. I like it. I like where this is going. Even though
what have I said? So what have I been building to all night? What are the fadas, if not scarecrows? If you watch The Wizard of Oz, which I finally did the other day, when Scarecrow comes off his little pole, when Dorothy unhooks him, he's like all fumbly and can't stand and is tripping and falling all over himself. And what does he do when he trips? He shoots himself and loses his brain.
Oh my God, yeah. That is good.
So, in the end, he doesn't have a brain. It's because here's the deal. It's The Wizard of Oz. It's not supposed to be a happy ending for everything. I know the movie does, but I'm just saying, and you were there. But if you think about The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow's like, oh my God, it turns out I have a brain. And then they go back to the regular world, and guess what? It's not the fucking Scarecrow anymore. It's just fucking Hunk, or whatever his goddamn name was. I don't know. I don't keep it that straight. But do you know what I'm saying? So I just thought, no, like, go look at it. Scarecrow's like all like, I'm showing you like marionette arms. There's clumsiness to him in the very beginning, and that's how they got that kind of fun jovial skip down the road when they're going follow the yellow brick road and they're skipping, and that's the Scarecrow. He's got kind of these like there's the rigidity of the Tin Man and just like the flopsy wopsiness of the arms and legs of the Scarecrow, and he's kind of clumsy, and of course he's gonna trip and blow his own brains out. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that's what the fuck's going on in this scene. And everyone's like, absolutely. Oh, it was very... And here's the other deal. People are like, oh, I wanted him to die and blah, blah, blah. That's your problem, that you're looking for that kind of murder porn, right?
Right.
That's not the writer's tale. This is just the fucked up nature of the world. You know what I mean? This is the Darwin Awards. This is real life.
Yeah, we romanticize violence like all too often, especially in gangster movies. And the reality is, this shit probably happens all the time in like these groups that are extremely violent and playing with guns all the time.
Well, how many stories have you heard of some like gunslingy guy shooting off his own nut
all
or
the
his toe?
time.
I mean, Eddie Murphy in what, Harlem Nights? Was that the movie, Harlem Nights? You shot my pinky toe. Nobody gets to make a Harlem Nights reference on a Fargo podcast.
How many NFL players have shot themselves this year?
Is that a thing?
That's a thing. I feel like there's at least one a year.
Oh, I haven't seen any.
Are they playing NFL right now? Are they playing
That's what I love about this is that you like do not watch like any football at all. I'm like, what are you trying to talk about?
Is that sports thing going on?
It's the sports thing. You always called it when we were working in the same office together. I always remember you're the person who introduced me to the term sports ball.
Yeah, that's like a normal word now.
Is it?
I think so.
Well, thank you for introducing me to that. Okay, let's start to button this. Let's start to button this up. I appreciate the emails and
much more.
I'll do some quick grab bag and then we'll talk a little bit of stuff. So we didn't have a chance to talk too much about how much of an asshole the alderman is in the Hi-Ho Club. But I
did like seeing him get punched in the face 2 times.
You know what? I wrote in my notes, kind of feels good to see an asshole politician get punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Mark commented to us that the top secret meeting at the Hi-Ho Club is, he wondered if it was to the lady killers. There's a donut shop, is Hi-Ho Donuts. We want that donut money. So, another quick comment. Oh, I lost it. I'm sorry. I thought I had this pulled up, but anyway, I hope we see the Kitchen Brothers. I think your idea of that and Jamie's would be fun if he meets two younger twins with beards. I hope they have beards even when they're like 10. I feel like the best thing we can do here is wrap up with our last big scene back at the Gadfly.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about what you said and what I said, maybe we're both right. Loy and Ethelrida together are picking away, and they're an annoyance to everybody, right? Even though Loy is bugging Ethelrida and her family. You know, because by and large, the Smutnys are just trying to make a living. I mean, what's the worst thing they honestly did? The actual Smutnys, that family. You know what I mean? Like, Zelmare, I get it. Zelmare's doing bad stuff. They borrowed some money, you know, as black people in that era. I mean, imagine trying to find a bank that wants to loan you money. Anyway, I thought it interesting because we've talked a lot about reflections of Loy when she first comes in that room. It's like you get to see Loy in that reflection. It's a wonderful shot. She's wearing her clothing is thing. But the first thing I thought we talked about, super glad I geeked out over that painting still.
Yep.
Can you see how far my hand is reaching behind my back to pat myself? The secondary thought I had was, holy shit. They're making commentary here, I think, about Ethelrida's because everybody is. Okay, sorry. I got to formulate this real quick. Loy, from episode 1, talked to us about people pretending to be what they weren't with the credit cards. They don't want to be rich, they want to appear rich. And I just realized that in episode 10, and what is that other than being fake? You're not real. And the first thing she does when she sits down is she talks about a painting and she tells him it's fake.
Yeah, it's a copy.
It's a copy, but it's just more importantly than the copy, it's that it's fake. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if she's seeing through all of it, that all of them are weaker than they're letting on.
Yeah, he specifically said he wanted it, after he saw it, he wanted it because it would make him look like a badass.
Yeah, right? But I just thought, she's so perceptive. She's so perceptive. And I think that, to me, is the biggest point I take away from the scene. I can sit there and wonder about all her math skills and speaking French, and in the end, I'm like, she knows bullshit when she sees it. Mm-hmm. And she's smart enough to take it.
I mean, she called him out. She's like, I think you are having the punishment fit the crime. The Smutnys stole your money. They gave it back. You think they should be fined. You could have easily killed them. You could have offed them and just been done with it. But you thought, no, this is you're going to get a monetary fine. Kind of like a credit card company.
Right. Do you feel like a little bit of what he was attempting to do to her and she wasn't having it was a little bit of mansplaining?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Without a doubt.
Yeah. So, now let's be speculative.
Okay. Yeah, let's get into this because...
The ring? What do you want to talk about? You tell me.
Yeah, I want to talk about the ring. Because I am at a loss, to be honest. I really don't know how that gives him an upper hand. Is it information that Orietta killed Donatello Fada? Is that like, does that give him an upper hand? That doesn't seem like much of an upper hand to me. Donatello Fada's dead. I don't think there was any. Was there speculation as to it being the cannons? No. Right?
The obit, by the way, that I actually did write down and pause on the obit for him. And it does clearly state that he was the victim of a stray BB, pellet gun. But we already do know that there was some talk about where's the ring, where's the precious between the brothers and who took it. So clearly it's of some serious value just beyond not, it was my daddy's ring kind of thing. But I don't know. What do you think? You mean, are you at a complete loss or you're just being speculative right now?
It just doesn't seem like enough to stop a war if he like just takes the ring over there and like, hey, you looking for this? Let's call a truce. I don't see that happening. I don't know how it plays into I don't know how it plays into things. I don't know how it's just sort of this like huge aha, like brilliant, we've got him type of thing. What do you have?
I don't know. I know my confidence level on this is lower than most of my bullshit prognostications. So it made me wonder about what is it they're after and what is. I feel like we've been dealing with a fair amount of perception on this show, right? And that's why I brought this up. She knows what's fake. They know it's fake. And you can live on, what's the phrase? Like a lie will make its way around the world multiple times, before the truth gets out of bed, and it just gets easy to believe that in a thing. And I keep wondering, we're still living on layaway, Charpie. Like, all of this is still over a fake dead boy. This whole war is, dead Satchel / maybe Mike Gilligan. He's also lost on a 3-hour tour as well on a weird island.
Yeah.
But this whole thing is, Buel made it very obvious. She doesn't even care. She's like, we'll make a deal with New York. Let's just kill these fuckers who killed my kid. He ain't dead.
He ain't dead.
You know who's not dead? Satchel.
Satchel not dead.
And this whole thing is predicated on that, isn't it? I mean, what else would they be fighting about if it wasn't about the dead kid? Zero, as far as we know, Zero's alive. Guess what? There's somebody we need to touch on. Where the hell's that kid?
Yeah, I don't know where that kid is, and he was in the credits for this episode. And I was like, whoa, why does he, what makes him so special? He's not even in this show.
So my thoughts are that they're going to create some fallacy that is going to make things look worse, because right now, also just heartless the way they have this touching scene and his brother dies. I mean, can't you just drag him into the backseat of the car and drag him away from a crime scene, Chasto? But he's such an idiot without a brain that he leaves. So now, here's the sitch, right? Josto's in a bad position because New York told him, you need to make up with your brother. Well, who killed him? We'll have to figure that out, because now you got a dead cop and a dead brother. You can probably blame that on the cannons if you really had to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the flip side to this is, do you think that Josto and Orietta could really carry on there? I mean, do you think they really only hooked up a couple times? I doubt it. He's into that shit.
Okay. Where are you taking
Do you
me?
really think... Well, I'm just saying, they could craft an entire story that he got her to kill his father so he could take over the reign. And I know this because I've been watching him across the street from my, the King of Tears mortuary. I've been watching him visit there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can craft your own truth. I mean, we've talked about that truth, that the Pravda Nepravda truth of, and we're still dealing with a little bit of that from season 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of this, I'm not, low confidence here, but I'm just saying, I feel like,
I dig it. That's a lot to do in an episode, but I dig it.
Well, and I don't know where people are getting this stuff. Like, I'm still standing by you and I don't look ahead. We try not to see stuff. 2 people have told me that the next episode is only 39 minutes long. And I'm like, you're telling me that FX is going to put in 21 minutes of commercials? 21 minutes is the average length of an episode of fucking Friends. They're not going to put in... If I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected, but I have a hard time believing that they only got 31 minutes to wrap out this thing.
They also don't always follow, the 30 minutes and on the hour schedule on FX.
Multiple people, 2 people sent me a note about that. So,
wow,
Cristiano, I know you said it. They're worried, and I'm with you, and I appreciate you guys sending the stuff, but I'm having a hard time believing that FX, in a season they would normally produce 12 episodes, only is putting out 11, and the last one with... I don't care if they tie up all the loose ends. I've always said I'm okay. I just want to take the best thing. Is this my favorite season of Fargo so far? Let's be real. You? What do you think?
No, it's not.
It's not my favorite either. It's also the most complex subject matter the show has taken on.
Yeah. I really liked season 2, though. So.
I know. Kooky UFO, man. Fat Damon. Miss that guy.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It really
we're on
was.
season
It
4.
really was a
It's
great
still
season.
good.
We're on
There's
season 4.
a lot.
There's so much here.
It's not over yet. They've given us so much to talk about, which has been a true gift. So I'm grateful for that.
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes I tend to go, man, we should go back and redo our own show about our own show. Because even our season 1, I appreciate all the listeners, but you and I were. I don't think even you and I were on the same path during season 1. We were having so many extra guests every week, and they were great people. They're good friends of ours, but it's tough. Hats off to anybody who does this kind of stuff, because we're not here to just recap. We're here to try. We're here to tell you about really random gadfly stuff. We're here to make wild speculations about the Wizard of Oz, and that a guy named the Snowman is really the looming specter of racism connecting to colonial times, which turns out it's true.
It was true.
That's what we're doing. I don't know. It's fun. I like the wild gambles. I like getting off on a streak. I like looking at, why are there 2 urns in this thing? What's up with that fucking painting?
Yeah, random thoughts. There was a lot of black and white, of black and white
Still.
wardrobes, and Lois said skunk's gonna skunk, so I thought that was kind of interesting. One
more. Rats. Talk about our ocean and ship references.
Yeah,
rats fleeing the ship, another reference. I mean, I know that's a normal phrase, but I don't think people are accidental. These writers are they work very hard at what they do.
And let's breeze.
What else? What's out?
I just have I got a shitload of notes here, but let's just breeze through as we wrap things up.
Yeah, do
just
it.
Random
I love
thoughts.
this.
I'm just gonna breeze through all the 2s. I know that we're all kind of getting sick of that, but it is kind of interesting when you point some of them out. Obviously, you could point a lot of 2 things out. Oh, he's got 2 legs, he's got 2 arms, 2 chairs, blah blah blah. But I think that a lot of these ones that I've written down are very like obvious things that they did into. There's the 2 weeks that Happy gives them.
Yep.
And then when they off the 2 Italian brothers, what's New York going to do? They're going to send 2 more brothers.
Yes.
That twitchy piece of shit quote was the second time Josto said that twitchy piece of shit, which I loved. I believe we mentioned there were 2 references to Josto having to pee. I also believe there were 2 references to eating bark. Like we said earlier, 2 people died on October 9th, August 9th, 2 died on August 10th, 2 died in a hospital with the flu, 2 died in vehicle crashes. Milvin, the alderman, he gets punched twice. There's 2 references to the moon in this episode.
Milvin also says those greasy wops have a low IQ, which is no brain. Scarecrow.
Yes, good one. Josto says to his brother, "We're here now." Says it twice. He says, "Come here," twice. Odis checks the light switches in his house twice before he turns them on.
Which was total funny, useless box for me for a minute. I know it wasn't really that, but at first I was like, is this a useless box?
Yeah, it was kind of like a useless box. There's the painting by Henry Renaud, which is a copy, so there's 2 paintings.
Yep.
Speaking of that painting, what was the title of it? The Execution Without Hearing under the Moorish Kings, something like that.
Yes.
Is that maybe a reference to the execution of Donatello without a hearing? I don't know.
Maybe.
Random thoughts. We're in random thoughts mode, and
I'm with you, man. I'm always happy you're on the journey with me, man.
Skunk's gonna skunk, brought that up. Babies in the tide. The babies come like the tide, but also does the snowman come with the tide as well a little bit?
Well, in the moon, and they can he comes at low tide.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the reverence for his wife and the strength of women was kind of lifted up, I think, with Buel, and that he wasn't even hearing things the night Satchel was born, and yeah. What else? Did you have any other random 2s? I mean, I'm happy you're picking up the mantle, man. I've been trying to push slightly away from it because like I said, oh, by the way, but if you do push a 12-inch head through a 6-inch hole and you divide it, that's 2. It's double. Just saying.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't.
Those are my main ones.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything to this, a smaller piece, but just before we wrap it up, almost sad and lamenting that Loy, in that telling of Satchel, it's almost like with the loss of Satchel, his best times are behind him because he says, wait, that was to Opal, right? Where he said, his best days are behind him.
Yeah.
You know, this is not his penultimate moment. He's on the other side of that sunset. And he seems to know that. But I kind of want to know, like, what, if he feels that way, what is driving him? How does he keep how does he keep the quote unquote faith of any kind? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Just keep searching for higher ground, right?
It does, the way he's doing that little soliloquy, somewhat. It does feel like he knows he's at the end.
I'm bummed there's not 12 episodes. I'm very excited for episode 11. I hope it's more than 39 minutes.
Well, we did have a super long first episode, so
the whole thing has been crazy, and I'll give them some pass on TV and film production is hard. Some people, did you notice? I mean, some of these scenes, people were all farther apart, with the exception of like Gaetano and Josto in the car. Mm-hmm. People were apart in these scenes. All the guards kind of standing at distance, and it's tough. Who knows? Who knows where this goes? We don't know what ends up on the cutting room floor either.
Nope. All right.
Oh man. Well, send us a note. We're on Twitter at Fargo Talks Fargo. We are also on email, which I've been bad at answering everybody lately, but maybe I should make you in charge of that. Just kidding. You can send an email to podcast@FargoTalksFargo. We appreciate you. And those of you who read my random secret note, it's over. There's like 3 or 4 of you who are going to get some stuff. If I've asked for your address, it's coming. Don't worry. I just got to get through a couple things here, but we appreciate you, and we will be Charpie and I will be sending you a little gift from Fargo. Fargo Actual. I'll have it made and shipped from here.
Fargo Actual.
Thanks so much, Charpie, for that gadfly shit tonight. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. Appreciate that. Well, see ya Sunday.
See you Sunday.